What's up, everyone? This is the Jordan Edition podcast, number 23. We will not be talking about Michael Jordan, though.
We'll be talking about LeBron instead.
Man, this is getting off to a really negative start, David. I think we need to cut and take over again.
Really?
How's everything going for you, big guy?
It's going pretty good. It's going all right.
Yeah. It's been interesting getting back to normal life after being gone for so long. I think yesterday was a month that I've been back, so it's been just kind of weird reacclimating to normal 9 to 5 job and life and all this stuff. So not nearly as glamorous as the hotel eating a restaurant life every night. So, but I guess I can't complain. So have you been? You said you went fishing yesterday and how much luck have you been fishing?
Yesterday was like the first time I've been blanked like all summer, I think.
But
I didn't catch any.
Have you been fishing quite a bit?
Yeah.
Canoe fishing?
Yeah.
Anything else been going on?
That's it. Like I pretty much I try to get out and go fishing as much as I can.
Have you put trail cameras up yet?
No, I didn't put them back up. I took them down like not too long ago, actually.
Yeah, I just it's like I think this is the third week for me to get my trail cameras back up and kind of getting all the paths mowed and just trying to get back into hunting form. I'm kind of losing all, or I'm gaining a lot of freezer space because I'm using up all my meat. So by this time next year, there's gonna be, can't see it, it's on camera, but there'll be a freezer over there and hopefully be full of deer meat and stuff.
You've been picking up a lot on.
Yeah, they came back pretty fast. I don't know if they left, but the first week was kind of slow. Only getting about between probably 50 and 100 pictures on trail cams, each one of them. And then the second week picked up a little bit more. Went from like 50 to 75 to probably between 1 and 200. And then this week, most of everything that we had last year, because I only killed a doe last year, and Bobby didn't kill a buck or doe, so I didn't kill a buck. So most all the deer looks like they made it. So all but one came back so far, and of course it's the biggest one.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him, but probably got between 6 and 8 bucks. 3 of them are probably old enough. Well, 2 of them are old enough for sure, and 1 of them's kind of a borderline. Not seeing very many does yet, but I was getting like between 500 and 700 pictures now. So just it really picked up pretty quickly.
Seen ghost truck on them?
No ghost truck. No coyotes. I was getting a coyote almost every night. At the beginning of the year when we were going turkey hunting, I think I showed you some of them last time we went, but just with the way things ended with our hunting season, like essentially I just kind of left everything where it was because of what we talked about last time with the death of my family. So like I'm just trying to, I still getting all my turkey stuff out of my blinds. So, but kind of trying to get excited for it. It's hard to get excited for anything when it's this hot.
I know yesterday was miserable.
Yeah.
And right now it's miserable.
Yeah, right now it's miserable. But the fall, when the fall hits and you kind of start seeing more stuff in the daylight, and there's always a possibility of when you even go back to check your trail cameras, you can see a coyote or whatever. So that's when it kind of starts to get a little bit more exciting for me, and to have the one kind of big monster buck on camera is what kind of drives me, and just kind of the challenge to chase. And I've got one that I've been chasing this is the 3rd year that I've had him on camera. He's only got one eye. He's got a lot of character, but unfortunately I think he kind of peaked last year because he's not really that much better than last year. So I think he's an older deer, like 5 or 6 years old, and just kind of going downhill now. So kind of disappointing because I thought he would be a monster this year, but he's really not. But he's got a lot of character, really cool deer. So if I do kill him, I'm gonna put him up above my head here, and he's gonna have an eye patch on him.
Yeah, I was gonna say had to get the eye patch.
Yeah. So I've been calling him One-Eyed Willie since the moment that I saw him. So definitely have to do that.
And a monocle, either one.
A monocle. No, the monocle only. Yeah, the monocle will work for the other eye, but he just got more of a pirate feel because everything that he has is just kind of jagged and imperfect, which is what gives him a lot of character. But the problem with that is that he doesn't carry a lot of mass, so he seems to get broken off every year. So that's the reason that we saw him last year and just had to pass on him because he was all broken off and didn't look like he was in very good condition. So we'll have to figure out if he can make it through the fall fighting season and be available. So, but yeah, I guess we're going to talk about kind of my travels out west. So it's kind of spun my life out a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. Just kind of being out there, I started pulling into Cheyenne, started listening to like Beaches of Cheyenne by Garth Brooks, and driving through Nebraska, started listening through Chris Ledoux, and next thing you know, when I come home, I'm really interested in westerns again. I'm watching The West by the Ken Burns.
Yeah, Ken Burns. That's really good.
That was a good one, and then
he did one on the Dust Bowl too, didn't he?
I don't know. I haven't watched that one
about
yet.
the Dust Bowl. I don't remember if it was Ken Burns that made it. It was really sad. I mean, it's kind of just like 3 or 4 hours of just being depressed.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, it was a really hard life.
Yeah.
There was one family in the Ken Burns one, and they were going towards I can't remember if it was Oregon or California, but they were going through the Oregon Trail, and I don't remember where their destination was, and it had like 6 kids. And both of the parents they called it like camp fever. And I was like, that seems made up. I've never even heard of that. So both of the parents got that. They died. And there's 6 kids. And they have to give the 6 kids up for adoption or whatever, of course. None of the families could take care of them. And they find a family that take the 6 kids. And then that family is killed by Indians. And I think they got 2 or 3 of the children.
Yeah.
So it's just like, God, it's just a hard life, You can't, the parents didn't even make it across the trail, and then 2 of the kids get killed, after the fact. It's just, it kind of puts in perspective what we talked about with Mike when Mike was like talking about how it was easier 100 years ago. It's like,
off my porch.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
Back in my day and old
But
times.
That being said, and I'll just tease this a little bit, I think we should talk about how our society and especially physically we seem to be kind of devolving a little bit, and maybe we can talk about that on podcast 26 and kind of throw a little flames on.
with Mike when he comes back, if he ever comes back.
He's going to do 26 with us.
Okay.
That'll be the conspiracy theory one, and we'll kind of throw a little flames on that, because I think physically and watching all that stuff and what they went through. Watched another one called Trapper Jake. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
This is an old man. He's like 94 years old, 95 years old. He still ran a trap line every day, and so it just those people were just a little bit harder and had a little more edge to them.
They had to be
right.
To survive.
But I think we've utterly forgotten that, and if it seems like that we're impenetrable as a society, and like all of this electricity and everything is just untouchable. But if something ever happened like that, I mean, it would just be catastrophic. I mean, there's no way that we could survive. I mean, I'm from the country, and I don't think I could hunt. But as far as, keeping up a garden and having the seeds and the heirloom seeds set aside, or a water source or whatever, I'd be struggling.
I don't ever worry about stuff like people have always adapted.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely
wrong. I mean, people are easy to adapt them, but I mean, it would be a rough transition to.
I think that it would be.
Darwin would step in. And
I think that people would survive. I mean, I think that people have been surviving catastrophes for thousands of years, but I do think that as far as the population, it would be a catastrophic number of people that, just from riots and seeking out food and all that stuff, there would be a huge number of the population that probably went away. And then on top of that, you got to think about sickness and stuff. We take that for granted now. Well, I don't, since some of the situations that I've went through, just in the recent history. But just getting sick, camp fever.
Yeah.
What the hell is camp fever, and why is it killing people? I mean,
you could die from like common cold, anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And that would be something that would come back to the forefront if
it could
all
be
this
worse
structure
now with like how polluted everything is. And
I mean, it definitely could.
You had to like rely on like going to the creek or something.
Right,
and
if that happened, like, would some of these diseases that went away that people got immunizations for that me and you didn't get them
Yeah.
because they were gone with that stuff, come back. So
Yeah.
it's just crazy to think about. But I guess most of my interests in the West, I always wanted to travel there, but mostly it was just like I wanted to go to like Yellowstone or Montana. Those are two places that I've always wanted to go. I never thought I would necessarily, make I had to drive there. So I drove through Kansas, and everybody was talking about how terrible Kansas was. And I get to East Kansas. Have you ever been? You haven't?
No,
Yeah,
I've
we
never
talked
been
about how
like
you're
west
there.
of like Bowling Green.
Yeah.
Well, but like Memphis is probably as far west of that then.
Yeah. So I have been to uh, Indiana and Illinois before. Illinois was a terrible trip for me. I went back when I was in middle school, and I was just dumbfounded about how boring it was. And so I went into Missouri. I'm not sure if it's the first time I've been in Missouri or not, to be honest with you. I think it was. So I got to see St. Louis and everything, and I was like not impressed. Went on through to Kansas City. Kansas City seemed like it was all right, and then get to kind of East Kansas, and I was like, this isn't bad at all. There's kind of rolling hills and there's like rock formations and
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like, man, this isn't as bad as everybody thought. So then you get past like East Kansas and it flattens out, and it's just like these big plains, and I mean there are still some rolling hills. There's a bunch of giant like windmills. I guess they have a big wind
Yeah.
power
That's
source.
my mom just went to Colorado a couple weeks ago and she was talking about the
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah. And I was like, oh my God, they're right. And so it flattened out, just got super boring. Um, one of the things that stuck out to me driving through Kansas was that I stopped at a rest area. And, usually at rest areas, it's like positive things about the state or the area or whatever.
Yeah.
And you get to Kansas and there's like this map and it's like the bloodiest battles of Kansas. And you like start looking, it's like the whatever party massacre, and it's like all these massacres that from like Indians and stuff. I was like, golly, Kansas was a rough area to travel through apparently.
Yeah, even before then, or after then, there was clashes between, slave holders and non-slave
Right,
holders.
yeah. In the Civil War it was pretty rough too. But I guess getting through Kansas was probably the biggest part of my journey out there. And I guess naively, I thought whenever I went into Colorado, like everything would change, like the mountains would pop up, everything would get greener and stuff like that. And it just didn't. I went to Colorado Springs, and it just it stayed dry. The mountains popped up out of nowhere, but I was just shocked at how I expected Colorado to be just green and have a lot of moisture and everything, and it just didn't transpire that way.
Because I guess, like, here, like, when I think of Colorado, like, I've never been there, but, like, my perception would be, like, just Rocky Mountains, like, the whole state's just,
Right,
it's
and
just mountains.
but I mean, going
Yeah.
into eastern Colorado, it was just like Kansas. I mean, there was no transition whatsoever. And finally, you did get to a little bit of it the closer you got to the mountains, but it's just barren and dry. And there was some antelope and stuff like that on the roadsides, but just beyond anything I ever expected. And they told me almost when I got there, I was like, I expected to be a little bit more green. They're like, we've only got 3 inches of rain all year. And I think during that time in Kentucky, there was like weeks where we were getting like double digits of precipitation. And I mean, it was cool to see the mountains. And, I worked like 12, 13 straight days before I had a day off. And I went to the Garden of the God State Park. And it's essentially a bunch of rock formations. And they have a history of like the wildlife that lived there, a history of the Indian tribes that lived there. And it was actually kind of the first time that I actually enjoyed my time in Colorado, because I was actually working on asphalt, and there would be wind blowing through. Every day my laptop would be just absolutely covered in dust. You get it in your mouth, you get it in your eyes. I know everybody thought that all the people that came in for what we were there for, they were like, oh, they've been going to the weed shops because all of our eyes were bloodshot and stuff, but it was just the dust and the wind blowing there, and the weather was crazy. No rain, and then you get like a little dusting of rain, and it go from like 107 degrees to like 58 degrees, and then it would hail, and there was a tornado there, and then there's talk of snow on the mountains. It's like, what? It was a wild place.
Yeah.
But I didn't go to Pikes Peak. I kind of regret that. I heard a lot of good things about it, but I did go see Garden of the Gods, and it's really close to Pikes Peak, so I got to see that, and that was kind of the first time I actually enjoyed being in Colorado. And then the following week, I actually went to a place called Canyon City, and it had a big one of the first things that you see when you kind of come into town. There's a big state penitentiary, and apparently like it holds like the Unabomber and a bunch of like higher. I was like, it's just literally in the middle of the desert, and it was even more dry than Colorado Springs, and went through like a jeep tour of the Red Rock Canyon, and just 4 straight hours of. I mean, the mountains were cool.
Yeah.
A lot of cool history about like bandits and stuff that hid out there. I guess like 100,000 years ago, this area was covered in the ocean that was here, and then after that, it was covered in ice. I think it was after that it was covered in ice, and right in between, it was actually like a tropical forest. So there's all these dinosaurs there. They found a bunch of full specimens of dinosaurs in this area. So that was all cool. But after driving around for like 4 hours in the back of a Jeep and dust everywhere, and we were with a party of ladies. It was me and another guy. He was nice enough to take me on his Jeep tour, but just you had like 6 other ladies in there just talking the whole time. But Canyon City was pretty cool. Just getting to see all that stuff and hearing the coolest part for me was hearing the history of the dinosaurs. And like the Rocky Mountains rose up, and there's like a lot of areas that they actually find like dinosaur tracks in the mountains. And so you'll be like way up off the ground, and there'll be dinosaur tracks there because at one point in time it was low.
Yeah.
The Rocky Mountains rose up, and the tracks went with it. So just a lot of interesting facts like that. And then kind of left from there that same day, and it was initially the plan to go to the on the Jeep tour and then go to a place called Royal Gorge. And are you familiar with that? Have you ever heard of it?
No.
I never heard of it either. It's like the largest man-made suspension bridge in the United States.
Oh, okay.
So it's like 900 feet up.
Did you walk across it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's like it's sketchy. It's got like wood planks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all metal on the sides, and the floor is like wood planks. But we actually took what are those things called? You like sit in them. They're glass, and it's got like a
like the Jurassic Park spheres.
No, but it actually went over the gorge. So it's a giant gorge with cliffs on both sides, and the rivers at the bottom. They had a real cool train that went beside of it, but just so many cool cliffs on either side. And I'll post some pictures of this stuff on the podcast page so people get a little bit better idea of what it is, because I think it's pretty cool to know that these places actually exist, because I feel like we're kind of incubated in whatever area that we're in and don't necessarily know a lot about other areas. But it was definitely worth a trip. We took whatever it's called. It went across like a cable across. Gondola. It was a gondola. So we went the gondola across, walked around, went across the bridge, came down into the bridge, and there's like flags on either side with all the states. I'm going to take a picture in front of the Kentucky flag, and of course there's another Kentucky family from, I think they're from like Harlan or Grayson, Kentucky. And so got to talk to them, talk about how small the world it was. But I guess the biggest thing that kind of hit home to me while being at the gorge was that there have been forest fires in that area, and everything was just scorched, and it just really goes to show how dry that area is. And that was during the time that all those fires were going on in Colorado. Now they're all going in California, but so just crazy to really experience that, and just it was just a shock to me to see how dry that the southern Colorado really is. I mean, the mountains and stuff are gorgeous, but just the lack of precipitation, lack of foliage of any kind on like, I just was blown away. I mean, like you said, I guess maybe we are used to like the Smoky Mountains or something, and how green all of that is, or even like the Blue Ridge. Have you been to North Carolina?
Yeah.
And so I just thought that mountains usually had a lot of precipitation around them. So
Yeah, because Appalachia's fairly lush around here. It's
yeah,
yeah, the further you get in,
we're like
it's,
we're actually like a temperate rainforest or something like that, or like borderline
yeah,
because of the amount of
yeah,
precipitation we get, and how many months we have of warm weather. So a lot of people don't know that about this area. Of course, it gets warmer the farther south you go, but yeah. So the first couple weeks I was there, I didn't really enjoy the scenery. There was some okay restaurants in Colorado Springs. We talked about Famous Steakhouse. It was a really good steak. I had Malone's. I talked about Malone's last time, but I had Malone's like a week or two ago, and I actually think that Famous was better than Malone's this time when I had it. So I wish we had a cool steakhouse like that around here. So maybe when we make your journey out west, we can stop
yeah,
there.
yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. We'll go on a steak like a steak vacation.
That's all we do. Like we're just like, okay, where can we get a good steak? We've already tried this place. Let's go to this place, and like that's all we did was just go from restaurant to restaurant looking for steak. Every now and then we would break it up just to get something different. But I went north from there to Denver, and it was kind of the same. It was cool to see Denver. I spent almost 2 weeks there as well. The people in both locations were super nice. They just were kind of lackadaisical, or not a lot got them stirred up. So the customer service and like stuff like that wasn't that great. And I don't know if that was a marijuana thing or if it was
them weed heads.
if it was something else. But they just didn't get too riled up about anything. But Denver was cool. A lot better places to eat. That's when I went to Buckhorn Restaurant, which I talked to you about. It's the oldest restaurant in Denver, and I guess at one point in time when all the trading and stuff and trapping was going on in that area, it was a big. It's right next to the railroad, so I assume that it was probably a
Yeah.
pretty busy location. So it'd probably be the equivalent of our airport now. Just so many people coming in and out of there. But that's where I got to eat I had already had bison before, but got to eat bison and elk. So that was pretty neat. The city I was staying in was actually a stone's throw away from Columbine. And so the last day I was there, I got to go and see the school and the memorial, which was it was a lot more moving than I thought it would be. You're younger than me, and I don't know how much you remember about it, but to me, it was a big part of our younger life with the way that it kind of influenced our dress
Yeah,
code. And,
that's when they started banning things.
yeah, and influenced our the backpacks that we had and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And they released all the audio and stuff like that, and it just really scarred us. And you know, anybody that wore a trench coat at that point
Yeah, I
in
was
time,
about to say that there's
it put a
trench coat.
it put like it in the back of your mind. And there's always I don't really remember before that any fear of school shootings at all. Like it never even occurred to me really. I don't know if you feel the same way or not, but
Never, like I was never scared of school shootings when I was at school. Like I figured that, people would spare me. They'd spare me. I mean, I wasn't a bully.
yeah, I don't know that was the reason I thought of it. Just always like kind of in the back of my mind.
Yeah,
That's a possibility now. And there was just so many. There were so many monumental moments kind of as we grew up. You had Columbine, which changed everything. You had 9/11, which changed everything. And those are all things that you experience as a young child that kind of affects,
Yeah.
the way that you see things in the future. And I went to the school. They've kind of rearranged everything, and they've redecorated it so the colors are different now. The way the school looks is a little bit different. I don't know if you remember a lot about it, but one of the things that I remember is the helicopters flew over as they kept showing a body on the back staircase. Do you remember that?
No.
And I had just coincidentally enough watched like an Amazon documentary about Columbine, and like the boys that did it, they had a bunch of these homemade tapes, and they tape themselves shooting the
Yeah.
guns that they use and all this stuff. And so I just watched it within 6 months, so it was pretty fresh in my mind. I kept seeing the body on the back staircase, and I didn't even go around to the back because it just, once I was there, it just felt like it was like hollowed ground. Like it just, you just felt some type of, I don't see how children go to school there. I don't know how the kids that were there whenever the shooting happened ever went back into school again. I really don't, because I wasn't there. I just saw this stuff on television, and to me, it affected me as a 30-year-old man versus, being a high school kid. I just can't even imagine the bravery that it took for those kids to go back into that school. But a lady told me later on that they had changed the back of the school. It doesn't look anything like it did before, so I still probably wouldn't have went around to the back there. But they have like a big outdoor memorial with a bunch of quotes from the kids and stuff like that, and it was just quotes from the kids, quotes from the parents, and it was just really overwhelming to me. And I mentioned going to this lady that I wanted to go to the memorial and stuff like that. And she goes, "Oh yeah, and we just got Aurora right over there too." And I was like, "Oh my God, I forgot about that was
The Batman movie.
yeah, the Batman movie shooting." I was like, I forgot all about that. So, in this one little part of America, within 30 minutes of each other, you got, two of the worst shootings in the history of our nation. And it was just wild being there. I enjoyed Denver. I actually got to go out one Saturday night. I was the DD though, and it was the night that the UFC was going on, so we got to watch that. It was pretty cool seeing like Rocky Stadium, and I got to go by Mile High. Hate the Broncos,
Yeah.
so just went by.
Broncos they're
Yeah, I didn't mind them too much till Peyton Manning went there, and then kind of
Peyton Manning's the worst. Just get the stupid, Papa John's guy. I don't know. I don't want to be too mean, but I'm not a huge Peyton Manning fan.
Yeah, I'm not a Peyton Manning fan either. So, just that whole them winning the Super Bowl just put a bad taste in my mouth. So.
He didn't have like the best year. Like he didn't. Really
No, he was awful.
Yeah.
But seeing the Rockies stadium was pretty cool to me. I don't mind the Rockies.
I've always wanted to go there.
Yeah. We talked about going to a game, and actually they sent us home early. We had a plan like, I think Friday was supposed to be our last day, and we were all going to go to a game Friday, and then they started sending people home that Monday.
Yeah.
So just didn't make it to that far to be able to go to the game, but that would have been really cool. But all the downtown life is like right there, so like anywhere you were, you could still see like downtown on one side and the Rocky Stadium on the other. So it was a pretty neat experience. My off day there, we actually went to Rocky Mountain National Park. It was several hours away. On the way to that, we stopped at Lookout Mountain where Buffalo Bill was buried and went through his museum, which led me to watch a documentary on Buffalo Bill when I got back. But it was really cool to see that and see all the history. They had all of his guns there, and all about the Wild West show that he did, and the number of nations that went. Like they had a book. One was like other nations, and one of them was the United States. And you flip it up, and you see the number of times that he was here in Lexington or in Louisville, and I was like, holy crap! That's just it was kind of mind-boggling to me that. At least you didn't hear somebody talking about it. Like, the number of stories my grandpa's told, you'd have thought he would have mentioned that at some point in time. But I think something like 70 million people saw his show back then. And it just touched a lot of people. And I didn't really know, the massiveness of it back then. So
I'd say the West was a real curiosity to people.
Oh, yeah,
here,
yeah.
Family members and stuff.
I can't remember how many years he did it, but I think it probably went from like early 1900s to probably like around 1920 something. Yeah. I think at the end he was sick of doing it, but he was really bad with his money, so which I can relate to. So he had to continue it up for money.
Yeah.
And it was really cool seeing that. I wish I'd watched the documentary before I went. Because it would have kind of prepared me a little bit more, because you go into the museum and they've got like placards of everything. It's just kind of gets a little bit overwhelming, and but it was still cool to see that. You could overlook Denver and Golden, where they make Coors. Golden was really close, and then Denver was on in the distance, and you could see that. Went to the Red Rock Amphitheater. during the same day. We went to 3 different places. That was awesome. I didn't even know anything about it. I had heard about it before and seen like
Yeah, I
bands
see
that
people
perform,
post pictures.
yeah,
Of
shows and stuff.
there.
And you get there and it's such a cool area. Like they've got walking trails all around it.
How big is it? Is it like really like huge? Because like
I think they
see
said it.
pictures, like there's big bands that play there and stuff.
Oh yeah. You walk into the downstairs of it and like it's just wall to wall of all the bands that played. You know, it starts out really slow, like in the 50s or something like that, and then it just builds and you know now every year there's a bunch of big name artists that play that. They told us somewhere around 10,000, and that's like the seating area, but there's like some standing areas on the side too.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool to see that, and we actually went back 2 days later to watch the Big Lebowski be played there. So that was a neat experience to go there and see everybody dressed up. Of course, with the marijuana being legal, everybody was partaking, and so the people in front of you,
dude would
yeah, he would want. So it like. You got people using vaporizers all blowing up in your face. I mean, there's just no way to escape it. They had a comedian and they had like a warm-up band before that, but no, they weren't listening to anything. They were just watching the movie, and there would be there's this one guy that yelled out every single one of John Goodman's big quotes. You know, like right before the bowling scene, he yelled "over the line," and just got really into it.
We've all seen the movie.
People laugh though. I mean, they still laughed. I guess they're all happy because of the $8 beers and all of the marijuana vaporizers and everything else. So it was interesting. A couple of the guys felt a little lightheaded after the show that we watched, but yeah, it was cool to at least go there and experience it. I would have much rather see like one of the big bands there, especially back in the 70s, 80s, 90s when there's so many great bands out there, but. It was cool to at least go there. And then Rocky Mountain National Park was an awesome experience. Whereas everything else had been so dry and dusty, it wasn't anything like that. It was just lush green fields, more of like what we see back home. Wildlife everywhere. Got to see first moose, first elk. Everything in person. Didn't get to see any bear or anything like that, but I got really close to some moose and elk, and a bunch of different creeks that kind of you could go through. And they had all these stones that wash down from the mountains. You see snow up on the mountains. You eventually drive up to where the mountains are, and there's actually snow there. Just so many great views. Went to the top of several different peaks, and it was just a really cool experience. So. My recommendation for anyone traveling to Colorado, you would go to Denver and north of that area, especially if you want to do the outdoor stuff. Everything south of that's just really dry. They said that they were I guess whitewater rafting is a big thing in the south, and they're having trouble because it was so dry. Like there wasn't a big melt the year before that let people do the rapids and stuff. So it's just a big bummer that
it's a scary sport.
Yeah, it's not for me. Yeah. It's not for me. Although it was so hot there some days that it sounded really good. So hot and so dry that it really sounded good. But it was a cool experience. I was there for a month and made the decision when I was coming back to go north and then cut back east. So went back through Wyoming and then across Nebraska, and it was so much. It cost me like an hour of time, but it was such a good decision because I got to go up to Cheyenne. I got to kind of walk around where the Pacific Union Railroad station was. They still have it there. They have everything the way it was. They have like a Wild West museum that I got to go through that had a bunch of taxidermy and just different gun collections, different information about Cheyenne. And I stopped there and like ate at a cool burger place and just walk around, and you hear all the stories about Cheyenne, the number of like famous people that were there. Of course, you got Wild Bill, you got Buffalo Bill, all of the bigger names out west. They were all there. They have like an area that they still do gunfights at. So just that was one of the cooler parts, just getting to go up there. Didn't get to spend very much time there. Just kind of walked around briefly, ate, and then went on through Nebraska. But Nebraska was beautiful. Whereas Kansas and stuff had the grasslands that were rather dry. Nebraska did have those in the western part of the state, but everything was just creeks and so many lakes and so many ponds and what we would consider like a small lake or small pond here. There's always boat ramps and people on them, and I was just blown away by that. I kept thinking about how good the fishing probably was there, and a lot of wildlife there, and more of the antelope. And I just really enjoyed driving through Nebraska. And I actually stopped in Omaha, went to where they had the College World Series, stuff like that. My dad still wants to go out that way. I was super bummed. Two of the things that bummed me out the most was I didn't get to stop in Omaha for steak, because they have several good steakhouses there that they're pretty famous for. Didn't get to stop there for that because I got in so late and I left so early, and then went south through Kansas, Missouri, and then back that way. But I kind of wish I detoured a little bit and went to Kansas City to got some barbecue, but I was already so tired and so delayed that I just really wanted to get home. But it was a really cool experience, and I'd like to go out there again. I probably wouldn't go to the same areas that I've been before. Really like to go like to the Wyoming, the Dakotas, Montana, the areas that have actual green stuff. It was just so dry. It just wasn't for me. Even the trip from Denver up to Cheyenne, just so dry. In that western part of Colorado and central western part of Colorado, and then I guess it's the south east part of Wyoming. So just not what I expected, but it did spur on. Like I said, when I got back, I wanted to watch all these westerns. Started listening to the music of the area just because I felt like I had to. I watched that Unbranded. Have you ever seen that documentary?
I don't think so.
It's where they go from New Mexico up to Canada on horseback.
Nah.
You should watch it. It's really good. They take wild Mustangs. They go through the Bureau of Land Management that they adopt wild Mustangs. They took the wild Mustangs, they trained them, and then they took them up to Canada. So really cool documentary. And then of course the West with Ken Burns. I started watching Deadwood again.
Yeah, I've never seen Deadwood, so that's probably like next on my list. So
I would recommend it. I'm still watching it myself, but I heard that they're making a movie. So
all the HBO shows are pretty good. So I'll probably give it a shot.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about. I don't want to talk to you about the spoiler now, but about 5 or 6 episodes in, there's kind of a big event that happens, and it'll kind of bum you out. At least it bummed me out for the premise of the show and what I expected. So. But all in all, it was a pretty cool trip. It was something that I probably wouldn't have got to have done otherwise. Anybody that has any questions about that part of the state, or recommendations for food or anything else, then definitely inbox the podcast either through YouTube or through Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to kind of answer any of those questions, because I wish that I had learned a little bit more about the area or what to do before I went, but really didn't expect to meet like a cool group of people that I actually wanted to go do stuff with, because that first weekend in Garden of the Gods I was by myself, and then after that I was kind of making group trips with everybody. So but we'll have to figure something out with you and get you out west. Where would you want to go?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll get past the Mississippi River at least.
That the Mississippi River is down south.
Well, it runs from there to all the way down there. I mean, it's Mississippi River is just for
a barrier.
Yeah.
Because I never really wanted to go to. I always wanted to go to Wyoming and Montana and areas like that. Colorado was never really on my hit list. I kind of always wanted to go to Denver, so I was glad I got to do that.
Yeah, we can go to Roswell in New Mexico.
Dude, that's too dry. I thought about driving to New Mexico just to say I went, or to go to the Four Corners. Yeah. Have you heard of the Four Corners?
Yeah, it's where.
Yeah. So I thought about doing that, and it was like 8 hours beyond where I was in Canyon City, and I was like, nope, not for me.
Isn't Roswell actually pretty close to the Four Corners?
Probably.
I think it's because of where it's kind of.
It's just like
too.
I guess they probably have like a museum. They probably take advantage of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Vegas for one day. I'd like to go back to Vegas, but that's kind of my only dry area that I want to go to. I had my fill of the desert. It's not for me.
I don't know. Las Vegas seems like it'd be cool an idea, but I'm just not like big on gambling or anything, so I don't know if I'd enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoyed going to the hotels. We kind of went hotel hopping and went from hotel to hotel just to see what they were about. If I could go back in time, I would have done more gambling because then I would have got free drinks as opposed to paying for the drinks at $10-12 a pop or whatever it was. So that was kind of a bummer. But yeah, my dad's wanted to go out west for a while, so maybe we should plan like a guy trip out west.
Yeah, we'll take Greg to Las Vegas.
No, let's take him to like Montana or something and do like a go to a dude ranch and do one of those like rides, like the horseback rides. That'd be fun. So, well, I guess we're going to talk about what we're going to do in the next podcast. We're going to try to actually bring a guest back on. We just wanted to kind of get our feet back underneath of us. So, did you have any questions about my wild adventures there, Dave? Or do you think I thoroughly covered it?
I thoroughly covered it.
We hadn't talked about a lot of it either.
No.
I tried to save it for the actual podcast part of it. So, but yeah, everybody... I think everybody thought I was in Colorado for like a leisure trip that follows me on social media. And if you actually look at those pictures, like I'm wearing like 4 shirts, and that's because I had like 3 days off in a month. So yeah, it wasn't all leisure. It was mainly work, but I did take advantage of the days that I had off to see some areas that I probably wouldn't have got to see otherwise. So, well, you got anything else, man?
Well, have you been watching anything on TV lately? Besides the westerns?
No, man. That's all I've watched.
What was something you told me the other day?
I watched The Cosmos, and it scared me really bad.
Yeah. You can't sleep at night anymore.
I slept in a closet for like the first 2 days after I watched The Cosmos, and he started talking.
To this beach. Look at this grain of sand.
Yeah.
And he's like trying to explain time.
Yeah. And you're like, no. Yeah.
The concept of time is so hard to grasp where we're such like a small part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I'll tell you
the part about the cosmos.
The time part when have you seen Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey? That creeped me out.
What's his kid's name? He's like,
I don't remember.
He says her name. He's like Duke or whatever her name was. I don't remember.
Through the bookshelf.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the part where they go through the black hole. And they get to that other solar system, and they're like, if we spend X number of minutes on this planet, then it's actually going to be like 20 years back home. They're like,
And the guy that stays on the ship or whatever gets to do whatever. He's like, I've been up here for 20 years.
Yeah, that stuff creeps me out. But I guess more how insignificant the Earth is in the grand scheme of things, and how like out there it is that we're even here, that there's even life here. That's when it kind of all started hitting home, and how infinite the solar system actually is, and the fact that they believe that there actually could be infinite solar systems and infinite galaxies. And there's a graphic where they're like, and our entire universe and galaxy is in this bubble, and we suspect that it could be just one bubble in a grand scheme of bubbles, and like it pans out, and it's like all these universes.
Yeah,
and
I was
so
like there'd be other universes.
I was like,
infinite.
I was like,
same situations but different,
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing when they start talking about the interdimensional travel on the Joe Rogan podcast. Like I just start I kind of start zoning out.
But, it's Murph. That's what he said in the inner stories. Like Murph. Murph.
But it is Sunday. We're filming this on Sunday, and I don't know what's happening right now because I don't know how long. What time is it? I don't know how long we've been out here.
5 o'clock exactly.
Yeah, so we've been out here for like 40-50 minutes now, and I don't know what's happening with Tiger right now in the PGA Championship. No, don't tell me. So I'm going to be interested to go back in here and see what's up with that. But it's the first time I've been excited for sports since Super Bowl before last. So, but as far as watching new things, I decided that I was just sitting there watching Friends reruns like over and over again. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to be binge watching stuff on Netflix, it's going to be educational stuff from now on. So like I was even making my kids watch like educational, like the cutest animals, the 72.
You're gonna make them watch Ken Burns.
No,
like, Dad, please.
No.
They
come down, and I won't hear them, and they'll be talking about like some epidemic or children being killed by Indians, and they'll be like, "Dad, what's that mean?" I'm like, "Oh God, get it off here real quick." The atrocities that trappers or the cavalry or whoever it be that did against the Native Americans. I'm like, "Oh God, get this off here."
And there's corporations out west that would hire like their own private armies and stuff, and just fringe religious groups killing people.
Especially like in California and on the West Coast, when they started finding gold, they would like literally wipe out tribes.
Yeah.
The complete tribe. They're like, and the gold painters and the trappers would just use the Indians as target practice, and you're like, oh my God, it's just unbelievable. And I guess the western tribes of Indians weren't as combative as the Plains Indians.
They kind of seen what happened to the ones in the east, and like towards the end, it was have you ever seen Bury Me at Wounded Knee?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's been a long time though.
Yeah,
I need to watch that movie again. But I guess the Plains Indians were more combative because they had been fighting amongst each other forever. I think the Western tribes were more peaceful, and so it just kind of took them completely by surprise. But like I learned about tribes like the Nez Perce. Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah.
They were just like, you hear about Comanches and Apaches and stuff like that, but the Nez Perce, I think they led the army on like a 700-mile chase of where they were just like fighting and defending and everything else all the way up to Canada. So yeah, it just kind of spun me out, and it kind of when I was a kid, the Westerns and stuff like that were a big part of my life. I have a picture of myself wearing boots and fake pair of six shooters and cowboy hat. And so it was interesting to reconnect with that, and it's kind of mind-boggling to think that people actually crossed some of those, high plains deserts or the plains and with all the Native Americans, and you look at all the massacres and you're like, oh my God, how did we even get here? And it's kind of overwhelming. And then you add the cosmos to that, and that's the reason I was sitting in the closet for a couple of days. So. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. Interested to see what Tiger Woods does here, and maybe the universe will go back and I can believe in sports again. So especially after LeBron went to the Lakers.
The new jerseys are cool though.
The new old jerseys.
Yeah, the old colors.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We won't.
It's gonna be interesting.
We won't ruin the Western talk with the
Western Conference.
Yeah, the Western. You got anything else, buddy?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, well, we will be back for podcast number 24. We appreciate you guys kind of tuning in for the last couple as we get our feet back underneath of us from having our long break. But I promise the next podcast we'll have a guest. I've got a couple people on deck. We've got Jerry on deck, and that'll probably most likely be our next podcast, to be honest with you. Me and David will travel to Louisville again and shoot a podcast at Jerry's house. Yeah, do a little football talk. Maybe talk about LeBron finally and all the stuff that goes along with that. And then got two more guests actually that I've got in mind that I have spoke with and reached out to. So hopefully they both work out and we'll be able to talk with them as well. So we appreciate you guys. Please follow us on social media. You can find David Morrison, myself, Kellen Wimber on Instagram and Facebook. And then Double Axe Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and the biggest help is to go to our YouTube page, watch our videos, and subscribe to them. So, because hopefully at some point in time we will be able to expand our operation here and bring you more content with more guests, and just keep the upward progression. So, anything else, my man?
If you want to be a guest or know somebody that should be, let us know too.
Yeah, for sure. Seems like everybody's kind of timid, and we are not the Joe Rogan experience, but we will get your name out there.
I mean, we may be as good as them, but we don't have the money that Joe has right now.
David's attire is amazing right now, and nobody gets to see that, so we need to fix that too, where we have different camera angles to see David as well. So, but we'll continue working on that, and if you guys have any suggestions, inbox us those as well, and we'll just keep trying to improve and keep trying to bring people on and bring you cool content. So we appreciate you for watching, and we'll see you on the next go round.